There we go. Finally got started. Good morning, artists. My phone was freaking out again, so if you saw the alert and then I was gone and now I'm back, we're okay. So I wanted to show you guys, yesterday I had created, out of wire, this nice little butterfly type wing, little fairy wing, with the idea that this would be able to work for our little guy here. So that each end will ultimately go in those little holes that we made there. Boom. We'll attach them in through there. But not wanting to leave it as just wire, I showed you we started the experiment the other day using our Mod Podge. So I made 2 wings. This one's still drying. It's been drying overnight. I did it kind of right before going to bed. So some areas are already starting to turn clear. Some of it's still a little bit opaque as it's drying. But it looks like it's going to stick around the wire and then fill in and be this kind of cool, clear looking design. I'm kind of excited. It's looking nice. So I saved the other one to show you guys how we did this. Got some wax paper. Face this one the other direction. Open up our Mod Podge. See if I can get this a little bit flatter. And then we're just going to dribble. I could probably just pour it out, but I want to have a little bit more control over it than just soaking the whole thing. Plus for these more open spaces, you can fill it in a bit better. And as I'm doing it, I don't want it to be too clear, so I'm making a pretty good puddle, which normally I'm very much against making puddles of glue, but in this case our glue is kind of our medium. I also thought it might be cool to get some of the nail polish I have. And I've got a ton of nail polish from doing different crafting projects. So once it's clear, maybe I can use the nail polish to add some color to it. Shall see. If it looks really cool while it's clear, maybe we'll just leave it, but you are bending too high up. Two wants to stick up pretty far, so you can force it down enough. Might have to push on it while it's drying, try to sink it in better, but at the moment that's good. a little extra. Where are you? A little extra on this one, especially along the edge here. The edge has to be the strongest part. Yes, Mod Podge wings. I mean, you know, one of my kids requested having some fairy wings on them, so we have to see what we can create. It's an experiment. I see him. Is that Jackie? Is it our neighbor?
Yeah.
All right, so that is our Mod Podge wings for now. We're gonna scoot those out of the way since they're gonna take a while to dry. And let's pull back up our lady from yesterday. Trying to fit the paper in between the edge of the table and the camera again. So I did a little bit of line work on it after the stream yesterday, just so that it would be all nice and dry and ready for us to color. So I kind of went through and just thickened up some areas, especially areas like underneath the arm, underneath the chin, to try and give it a little bit of a darker tone. So I'm going to be working with Prismacolor pencils. So for you students that are used to seeing me working with the Crayola, Crayola's fine. I like Crayola. It can work very well for a lot of projects. The difference is with the Prismacolor, it's a little bit waxier, and the lead part, the graphite part of the pencil is a little bit softer. So it's easier for blending, it's easier for mixing things together, and you tend to get a bit of a stronger color tone than the Crayola will normally get. So we'll be working with those. I'm going to start off with some of the lighter areas first. You'll hear a buzzing every now and then, which is my sharpener. So I hope that won't be too distracting for you. But I want to start off with the areas that are meant to be pretty light. So we're going to set aside our white and our yellow colors and start getting a few of the oranges in there too. So for all these cool little sun designs we have. And let's get on hand, let's see, let's get a scarlet to add a little red in there. So as we settle in and start coloring, I have a story for you guys. If it wasn't crazy enough yesterday, ending our stream with turkeys, settled in, got some lunch, did some homework, dogs were still outside, sniffing through the area, making sure, you know, that the turkey didn't, I don't know, leave anything behind. My sister and I, we hear this shrieking going on in the backyard. And it's definitely our older dog, Wesker, because he has the higher pitched voice. And my sister goes to the door like, oh, it's probably the two of them just, you know, messing around. It was the normal sound we hear when they've been playing too much and Wesker has decided playtime is over. And Wily's playing a little rougher. And it's his leave me alone scream. But then as she gets to the door, she essentially goes, oh crap, and goes running out the door. So I'm like, okay, either their fight got a little too serious, I don't know. So I start heading out. I'm like, what's going on? What's going on? And she's just yelling, get out here, get out here. He's got a squirrel. And I go, oh no. So I run to the door and I grab, there were some sandals there. So I rip off my socks, put the sandals on, run outside. And there's Wily in the middle of the yard, prancing around with this huge, and I mean huge squirrel. I mean, it could have been a groundhog. It was big. It was a big squirrel. And he's shaking it and just, doing the things that dogs do. Wesker is running in circles around him. I try to grab Wesker first because, get him out of the way so we can figure out what's going on with this squirrel. And I notice poor Wily, he's got blood all over his muzzle. And I'm like, okay, it's either his or it's the squirrel's. It's hard to say. And finally Wily ends up just dropping the squirrel. Starts, licking at his face. So I pounce and block him from getting back to the squirrel. And he ultimately gets close enough that Melanie can grab him, my sister. So she's got a hold of him, trying to keep him from going back after the squirrel. And Wesker just starts circling around like a wolf, wanting to get at this very dead squirrel. And I'm trying to grab him, and he is not having any of it. And my sister goes, just grab it by the tail and throw it over the fence. And I'm like, well, that would be great if I could be, absolutely positive it's dead. I mean, if it was a possum, I would not have touched it for sure, because, they're masters of that. And we actually had to deal with a possum. Oh man, was it like a month or two ago? And I got him on a shovel to carry out to the woods behind our house, past our fence. And then that possum woke up on the way and almost jumped off the shovel. Scared the crap out of me then. So I go and I finally am like, okay, I can't get Wesker. If I move away from the squirrel, he is going to just pounce on it, and then we've got another chase. And my sister can't get him because she's still trying to deal with Wily and does not want to just, throw him in the house because, he's got blood all over his face. We got to clean him up. So finally I go and I start to pick up the squirrel by the tail like a crazy person. And Wesker jumps in like he's going to grab it right out of my hand. And I turned into a wolf and I just snarled at him so mean. And he backed off. And finally I was able to pick up the squirrel. And I just kept my eyes on Wesker like a moment from Jurassic World of keep the raptors back. And I've got my hand out toward Wesker. Like, you just stay back. And then I had to chuck the poor squirrel over the fence. And Wesker was very disappointed. And we went inside and we started cleaning up Wily. And poor baby had a couple of cuts on his face from fighting the squirrel. It's a very large mama squirrel. So we're like, you know what, we better just call the vet. We want to be safe. Just in case, who knows? We have no idea what kind of stuff squirrels can carry. So we call the vet and they're like, yeah, you probably should bring him in. And, of course, they're being really safe because of what's going on. So they're like, bring him to the vet and then call us and we will come out and get him. Stay in your car. I'm like, I'm not a zombie, This isn't Resident Evil, but, we want them to be safe. They're taking care of my baby. So ultimately he was okay. He got cleaned up. He got his rabies shots a little bit early. He's supposed to get them in June, but so we're like, let's just do it now. It's not gonna, hurt anything to be sure. Even though they said squirrels normally don't carry rabies, we'll just be safe. He's on some antibiotics as well. And right now he is just on the sofa, leaning against his mama's back, being a good boy. Seems to be doing okay. So that was our epic adventure yesterday. Luckily, I got all my homework done and turned in for our discussion this week for my class. So we were able to take some time out to go to the vet. I like my little broom, my little brush broom. Better than using fingers. If you use your fingers, there's a chance that the little color pencil particles will rub too much against the paper, and then you end up with more color on the paper than you want. Let's start off with a little bit of an orange on this strap here. I anticipate, though, if we are already getting squirrels and rabbits and wild turkeys in our yard, maybe we'll get some deer again. We've seen deer now and then. We got a nature preserve right behind our house, which is super nice for privacy's sake, but we get all the critters. So just like with the paint we were using the other day for our little creatures, I like to layer my colored pencils a lot. I think that's why I like the Prisma so much too, is they layer very well. The Crayola, not quite as much. It's almost like a little more of a permanent color. Prisma is, I'd almost say it kind of reminds me of oil pastel, where it mixes a lot easier and it blends very well. It's a little bit more oily. So you'll see as I'm working that I'll be going lighter and darker and going back and forth between different pencils. Tea break. Today's tea is a Jazzy Mint, Chicago Mint. All right, so here's the important question now. this drawing just so happens to have a whole bunch of triangles. And my instinct is that they're all going to be pretty much the same color, just because that seems to make the most sense. And I like organization like that. So that means that we're going to have quite a bit of this color. Now I want her outfit to still have these kind of sun tones. So I don't know that I want to use just these on those triangles. I think I want to use something, but also maybe sneak another color in there. The question is, what color? To still do something that's on the warmer end, and do kind of a red violet possibly. Or I can go way opposite and sneak in like an aquamarine or a blue. I mean, orange and aquamarine together are a pretty epic color combination. And I like the idea of them being bright. How do you look with yellow? Not quite as exciting. It's Wesker. Hi, Wesker. Maybe we'll go a little darker. Go with like a magenta. I love a magenta and teal, but that might just be my personal preferences sneaking in there a little too much. Alright, let's save it for now. Let's work on the rest of the outfit. We'll save that very important decision. So let's start. We're a little anxious this morning. We know in a couple of minutes our governor's going to be speaking. We're expecting to hear about what's going to happen with the rest of our school year. I've been doing a lot of thinking about what that's going to mean and what I'll be doing for you guys. And of course, what the governor says is probably going to be very broad. And our school districts are going to have to kind of fill in. Because obviously some districts can provide more and some can't. But if we're going to be stuck at home, I will still be streaming. So hopefully you guys will still come and hang out with me. I'll sneak in just a tiny bit of red in here, just for a little hint of a shadow almost. Just to give it a nice tone. It looks a little like ultra suede. It's not just suede, it's ultra suede. All right, let's repeat that shade. Let's do that on the armband. This is where those lessons that I wish I could be really showing you guys about shading and coloring in shapes, cylinders and whatnot. Learning to shade in a cylinder can help with shading an arm. I finally got a sunny morning too, which is nice. Still, it was a little too chilly for me to be ready to go outside and do a chalk art yet. But that is still an incoming possibility. Here, I run out of room. I have to move our wings. There. Wily is being a tease. He is at the door, scratching at the door, wanting to come in. But then you go and open the door and he walks away. And he just looks at you like, what do you want? And you're like, hey, you're the one who knocked. Is he being a brat?
Yeah. They've closed schools, by the way.
What's that?
Schools closed.
They did?
Yeah.
There it is, guys.
I'm trying to get some details now.
Hey. My sister's listening to the governor right now. She says that they have declared the schools are going to be closed. So, stay tuned. We'll be giving, you're probably going to be getting a lot of emails from the district and from your teachers. Be patient with us because we're probably going to be spending our spring break figuring out what the rest of the year is going to be looking like for you guys. My plan, though, that I've been thinking about is that I will still be doing the streaming, of course. That's going to be happening. I've been enjoying it. We're probably going to have the streams be a little more along the lines of a kind of a follow the leader. So you guys will be able to actually do the lesson with me, like we're in a classroom. Be a little less Miss Schoen's showing off time, as it will become Miss Schoen's teaching time. But I'll still try to include some fun stuff like this. Oh no! Oh, I dropped a pencil. So that'll probably mean start saving paper, pencils. Paper towel rolls. Save some the paper towel and the toilet paper rolls, because if possible, I'm going to show you guys some like how to use stuff around your house to make artwork. So we're going to drive your parents crazy with you going through the trash, not the literal trash, of course, but going through and picking out items that you might normally throw away and start hoarding them like squirrels saving stuff. Hoarding them like ravens. Don't ravens hoard stuff? We are the ravens. That is our mascot. We're allowed to hoard things then. Hey Kenneth, glad you like her. I always love this character creation aspect. Just making somebody up. Yeah, now there's a reason to hoard TP. hoard the TP because you need the empty rolls for Michonne's art class. I was trying to think of some ways to be able to actually use the toilet paper rolls because it's going to be we don't really know what everyone's going to have access to. So saying, oh yeah, we're going to use toilet paper rolls and paint and duct tape, well, not everyone is necessarily going to have all of those things. So we're going to have to come up with some creative projects that can include using the toilet paper rolls, but not necessarily have to have the other items. Teeny tiny lines. There we go. Prisma just blends so nicely. And if you've been learning more about shape dynamics, character design, that sounds interesting. Is that like using lots of round shapes for certain parts of a character rather than mixing? Or is it more for perspective type stuff? Foreshortening. Foreshortening, students, is when you draw a arm or a leg or a body part that it's not very long on the paper, it's very close together to give it the sense like it's coming forward or moving back. We might hear some more barking today because today is Thursday, which is garbage day, which means that there's lots of people out in the street moving garbage cans around, making lots of noise. The garbage truck came through earlier, and it sounded like that poor truck needed some WD-40. It needed to be oiled or something, because it was shrieking. It sounded like the dying screams of a giant metal monster. That's what it sounded like. Wesker. Wily politely knocks on the door. Wesker comes up, barks at the door, and then glares at it. Not at us. He doesn't turn to us to be like, hey, open the door.
There's a snake out there.
What? Oh, crap. Hold on a second, guys. We might be having another adventure.
Did you need help? Come here. Oh my god.
Oh my gosh. Sorry about that, guys.
Wesker. He's still bouncing around like you can see it.
Hi, Thugs One Hugs. You came in at a perfect moment. More yes, a live stream. There was a garter snake outside. Nothing, the little guys, he was maybe, like a foot long or something. Little tiny garter snake that the dogs are trying to harass. Which, Wily has killed a garter snake before. What was I just saying? That we were going to be having all sorts of critters in the yard. And then there's a critter. The stream is all like, yay, an adventure! Sorry, I left you guys behind, but I don't know how Twitch and YouTube would feel about possible animal death from my murderous dogs. Wily, you are such a little killer, aren't you? I guess this is the time for them to start waking up now. They're Yeah, Wily, don't get bit again. We don't need another trip to the vet. Is he alright?
Yeah, he had a stick in his butt.
Oh, Jesus.
Let me see your nose.
You would think after so many years of having a dog in the yard that the critters would figure it out. We used to have a problem with groundhogs. We had one big groundhog that moved in under our shed for a while, which was really dumb of it because that's when we had Wesker, and he was still a youngin', so he was tearing around the yard. We named the groundhog Hector, so that we'd see him in the yard and it'd be Hector. we eventually found the hole that he had dug that went from underneath our shed out into the woods behind the house. And we blocked it up good. And haven't had a problem with him since. But we still get the rabbits, of course, squirrels all the time. I think there's even a squirrel nest near the back of our yard. We had a squirrel nest last year up near the front of the house. And then we get possums. What dogs do I have? They're thugs. I've got 2 Shibas. Shiba Inu. They're a Japanese breed. I'll show them off at the end of the stream. That's kind of our tradition now. So before we end, we check in on them. So you'll get to see them. Wily's inside now. Wesker's out in the yard. Wesker is around 10. He'll be going on 11 this summer. When we rescued him, the vets estimated that he was about a year old. So we went with that. So his adopted birthday is when we age him up. Wily's birthday is at the end of May. And he's going to be 4? Yeah, he's going to be 4. Oh my gosh. He was not a rescue. We found a breeder in, was it Illinois? Illinois or Indiana? Either way, we ended up driving 6 hours to go out to the little farm where they had him. Met him and his brothers. My sister had kind of picked him out online from like petfinder.com. And she fell in love with him because he was this big chunky muffin. But what sold us was, and we went with, we liked him out of the bunch, but, we wanted to meet them and see if we were, how compatible we all would be. And we brought, there were 3 puppies in that litter, all boys. And we brought them out into the yard of the house there, and we started, just kind of playing around with the puppies. And Wily came right over to us and climbed into my lap, turned himself around, popped out, sat down. So he had his back to me, sitting in my lap, just checking out the world, enjoying it, and we all kind of looked at each other and I'm like, well, that's it. And the other puppies were, adorable, of course, and came over and were playful, but Wily pretty much just went from my lap to my sister's lap, and we were just like, I guess that's it then. He's the one. He knew it. We knew it. And he still does that same thing, funny enough. He still will go right up. He's too big for the lap now, but he'll still come up, and then he will turn around and kind of like back up against you. We call it tucking in. He tucks in. I'm saving these lines right here and here for when I decide what I'm going to do about the triangle bands, so that will kind of match in with them. Yeah, Thug Shibas are super cute. They do have great smiles. They can also have the saddest little begging faces. Wesker is a pro at that. He will just come right up to you. He will put his chin on your knee and ask for food. Yeah, there you go, Thugs. You didn't get to see the head before, did you? Oh, now the tough part is figuring out for the rest of her. I know I want her to have some darker skin, so why don't we kind of start there. Not too dark. The moon character that I had commissioned from a really awesome friend of mine, the moon character has some darker skin too. So I want to have a little fun with this. Let's start with I'm tempted to give her some really dark hair, but I feel like there's just some cool details and stuff I did that I'd be really sad to lose by making her hair dark, but we shall see. Not gonna stress about it. We'll do what looks good and what feels right. Just Bob Ross in it, right? Seriously, guys, have you started watching Bob Ross? Oh my goodness. Please go and find him. Even if you don't do the paintings, just watching him and following along and listening to the way he talks. He's so incredibly chill about art. Thugs is requesting green eyes. That's going to end up being a theme, because our cute little fire guy that we did before, this little guy, he had his little green eyes. I mean, it works. It works. This picture is probably going to be moving around a lot for a moment, because I'm going to want to work all the skin at the same time to make sure that it's all consistent throughout. Oh, Thugs, did you go check him out? Check out Bob Ross. He's so calming. He's honestly was like a really amazing guy too. Like, he did all these paintings that was like his daily thing, and then the studio, wanted to sell his paintings, which they did, but he didn't want any of the money from it. He ended up giving pretty much everything to charity or back to the studio, because he was working through PBS, public broadcasting, which usually is kind of considered a nonprofit. And he said, I didn't do this to make money off of it. I did this because it was kind of like a public service, I suppose. He was doing something just to create beauty and harmony in the community by doing it. A lot of people really enjoyed having that kind of daily activity of, spending an hour, 30 minutes with him to do a painting. Yeah, thanks, Thugs. I was kind of going for a sun goddess feel. She's definitely meant to be the embodiment of the sun. Was Bob Ross an inspiration? You know, I didn't really even discover Bob Ross until I was already in college and planning on being an art teacher. And I believe, I don't know if I was home for the summer or it was even afterwards, but I did find him on television and started watching, and was just, it was great. So I wouldn't say that he necessarily inspired me as a teacher or me getting into art, but he definitely inspired me to try and be a little more, we'll say, Zen-like. You know, he was so calm and confident, and that was such an important thing. And I was learning was a struggle for some of my students is, you know, everyone got so paranoid about making mistakes and they don't want to mess up, and what if it's wrong and I have to erase it? That's okay. And that was something that he never worried about. You know, if something splattered the wrong way, it didn't matter. You know, he made it work. You know, his whole thing, and I know people may, kind of make fun of it, was he would say, there's no mistakes, just happy accidents. And it was just the idea that, this is art. You can't be wrong. There's no wrong way to do it. And you can just kind of find ways of fitting things in. And that really helped even just me personally as well to be a little more confident and knowing that once I got the skills, that if something went wrong, I could still fix it. And that's something I have found I've had to work with my 5th graders a lot this year, is the idea that if you make a mistake, it's okay, and we can still fix it, and you don't have to start all the way over. And that is something that happens a lot with my students, it seems, is everyone wants to start over. It's bad, I want to start over. It's like, you have one eraser mark from one bad line. You do not need to start all the way over. It's like, there's ways you can fix it. There's ways you can make that work. There's ways that you can hide it. So he is an inspiration, just maybe not in the way that you'd expect. It's not like I watched him and I was like, oh man, I want to do that, and I want to stand up in in a TV studio and teach people how to paint. Oh, okay, I'll be a teacher and I'll do it in a classroom. It didn't quite work that way. But he definitely did inspire that chill. I've been told a lot this year from my students that they feel that I'm very chill. I don't fly off the handle and get angry very often. I try not to be one of those yelly teachers. So I do like that about him, that he's very chill that way. Oh, look, you found the Bob Ross icon. I love it. Bob Ross in the chat. Yeah, Kenneth, the beat the devil out of your brush is definitely a fun little thing he does as well. He's got his habits. We all do. His quirks. I think we're just going to have to finish up this color, though. We're hitting 11 o'clock. My tummy is telling me it's almost lunchtime. Maybe do some chicken soup today. Ooh. So what I'm doing right now too is just going through and going over really lightly with the colors. I'll eventually be going in and doing it nice and solid like this. But I like getting kind of all the colors in place first. That way, if we have a happy accident, we can work that into it a little bit better before going so dark and strong. and I'll play around with a couple of colors to see what to do for the rest of her. So it's probably looking like for tomorrow, once we have a little more information about our school situation, I may be talking a little bit about that before the break happens. But I'll definitely be emailing families to let them know what's going on. We'll probably work on finishing her up, and we will check in on the wings for our little other character. So it'll kind of be a bit of a wrapping up day. And then next week is spring break. I'll still be doing the streaming. So any students that still have questions about stuff, you can still email me. I don't mind answering them even though we're trapped in quarantine. There we go. Okay. So let's pause her here for now. We'll work on that a little bit more later. But end of the stream means we need to hunt down some puppies. Let's go find Wily's right here, actually. Hi, Wily. What do you mean? Wily. Wily. Hi. Can you shake? Can you shake? Oh, what a good boy! What a good boy. You can't quite see it on his nose, I don't think, where he got scratched up from that squirrel. Just a little bit on the top there. Yeah, I'm sorry. You're sensitive. You're sensitive, boy. Wesker's outside?
Yep. He's guarding us from the snake.
Wesker! Wesker! Can you even see him back there, guys? There he is. Wesker, your public wants to see you. He's watching for snakes now. He's on snake alert. There you are. Say hi to everybody. Okay, guys, thank you for joining me again today. We'll chat again tomorrow and do some more art and hopefully have a few less chaotic adventures. There he goes. All right, everybody stay safe and stay healthy, and we'll chat again tomorrow. Bye-bye.